She wasn't in it for the money. She just wanted the vaccine. In fact, she can't quite remember the moment she won the $1 million.
I don't really recall that few minutes of my life.
While she celebrates out on the western slope, they have a COVID situation. Hospitals are full of patients and facing a possible crisis. Native American mascots are being banned from Colorado schools, though not everywhere. Some important exceptions. A father and son filmmaking team is sharing a deeply personal topic that doesn't usually get screen time. And things are generally looking up.
My good news is I'm getting a new car today.
They are every Friday around here when the most important stuff in your life becomes news headlines. On Next. Weld County has had a complicated relationship with the pandemic. Its leaders fought public health restrictions. It had some devastating outbreaks. It's currently middle of the pack when it comes to vaccination rates. But Weld County is also home to Colorado's first $1 million vaccine sweepstakes winner. Sally Sliger told our Marshall Zellinger she didn't do it for the money. She did it for health.
Would you remember where you were the moment you became a millionaire?
I don't really recall that few minutes of my life.
Sally Sliger was in a business meeting when she got a text to contact the state health department about the $1 million vaccination incentive drawing.
I believe she said that I was a potential winner if I met the eligibility criteria.
And absolutely you're like, of course, yes, or no, this has got to be some funny business.
The latter. Mm-hmm.
The only thing funny about this is the size of the check, and maybe the governor's signature. Steiger, however, did not need the financial incentive to get vaccinated.
I got my first dose in March and my second dose in April.
So I asked the governor if he would have preferred the winner to be someone who got vaccinated because of the contest.
There's a few folks who don't want to get it, resist it. We're not going to change their mind with this. But there's a lot more folks, probably 20-30% of the population out there that is abstractly thinking, yeah, I'll probably get vaccinated, but just hasn't gotten around to it.
Okay, so you get vaccinated. How exactly could you win $1 million?
That first number up is 67.
So this process looks a little bit different from the balls.
The Colorado Lottery picks a random number, not with 3 million bingo balls, just a boring old random number generator.
So you just see a computer screen with lots of numbers being drawn.
As we explained when the contest was announced, everyone who is vaccinated is given a random number. The state health department keeps that list. The lottery simply picks a number. Actually 26 numbers, one winner and 25 potential backups.
So one number was like 2,700,000, where another person was drawn was like 80,000. All of the Colorado Lottery draws are done with an auditor on site. They come in and watch the draw and then certify it.
The pool of applicants are from people whose COVID vaccination record is in the CIIS.
I did not even look.
After I asked, Steiger checked to see if she could find her record. At first, she did not. Then she tried again while I was recording.
I am in here. This is a responsibility to be a representative of this program now, so I'd like to take that seriously, and that's easy because I believe in the vaccination program.
I thought we might put doubt to rest with a winner who could not find their vaccination record, so we could eliminate that idea of, oh my gosh, if I'm not there, I can't win. And we had it for a short moment, and then she found her record. So if there are almost 3 million people who are in the drawing, whose names are converted to numbers, I had asked earlier this week, could you just post that list somewhere so I can confirm my name is part of this list? And the answer was no for HIPAA reasons, because I would need to consent for someone else to know my COVID vaccination record, which is needed to win the contest, but not needed just simply to have the vaccine in general. Kyle.
So I think, Marshall, a lot of us have imagined who we might want to win, you know, if it's not us, if it's somebody else. And there's so many different scenarios. I was thinking, yes, somebody who is vaccine hesitant, if they won, that'd be really cool. Or somebody who really, really needs the money, that would be cool. Sally works in healthcare, so that also is really, really cool. I don't know, I just got very excited for her today.
Health and IT, which I think IT is like this drawing is also somehow IT related. My favorite part of this story is they've got 3 older children who did not know yet, even after the news conference, they had not personally contacted them to say, by the way, your parents are millionaires.
Hey kids, call mom and dad tonight. Be nice. It's actually great advice for all kids tonight, because your parents could be one of the next 4 winners. All right, Marshall, thank you. While it so often seems that we are kind of past the pandemic, On the western slope, Mesa County's got a real situation developing there. Almost all of their hospital beds are currently full, and that county is struggling to convince people there to get vaccinated. Anusha Roy explains the combination of factors that has county leaders comparing their numbers now to the last COVID surge.
The hope was to be in a better place than last fall.
Truly, it's up and down. I would say we're as busy as the last surge, maybe a little bit busier.
At Community Hospital in Grand Junction, they still have space for patients.
Today, we're about 74% as a hospital, and that includes our med surg and our ICU units here at Community Hospital. We've certainly been a lot higher in the last couple of weeks. We were probably in the high 80s, if not in the low 90s.
They're also seeing an uptick in COVID cases.
Overall, less sick, but certainly more admissions.
There are a couple of things to keep in mind. This is a busy time for hospitals in Mesa County that also serve as a hub for the western slope. COVID is adding to that strain.
It's discouraging.
The Mesa County Public Health Department shows roughly 90% of staffed ICU beds are being used and 70% of ventilators, and around 96% of hospital beds are being used for COVID and non-COVID patients.
We're right back there. As far as hospitalizations and case numbers back to those November times. And it's unfortunate because we have that other tool in our tool belt right now. We have vaccine.
But county health officials said they aren't where they want to be. 37% of eligible people are fully vaccinated. 42% are partially vaccinated. And some hospitals are working on making more space.
The majority of the people who are hospitalized are not vaccinated.
The county is also seeing several variants circulate, including the ones that originated in the UK and India. And with the help of 9 Wants to Know, we figured out where Mesa County ranks in the state. It's in the bottom third of administering vaccines. And right now, cases are high. It's the third worst when it comes to the 1-week cumulative incidence rate.
Areas of our state with the highest vaccination numbers, there's hardly any COVID right now.
So yesterday, Mesa County Public Health had posted on their COVID dashboard saying that they were at or near 100% capacity for their hospital beds, their staffed ICU beds, and their ventilators. And people were going, whoa, what is happening in this county? Well, it turns out that that was incomplete data, and today the county said that was on them, that they had an oversight, and then they updated it, and the biggest change you noticed was that there were more ICU beds and more ventilators open for use. And of course, Kyle, right, within a hospital, capacity can change so quickly. I mean, hour to hour, things are changing with how many people they have there, how many people have been discharged.
Mm-hmm. And we certainly hope that hospitalizations don't necessarily mean that people are in the dire straits that some older folks were in with the first go-around. But if you're in the hospital, it means that you're up you-know-what creek. I mean, they're not putting people in hospitals for mild cases. Nusha, tell me about the incentives. What are they doing out there in terms of the local level to convince people just to get vaccinated so they don't have to go through this rigmarole?
Yeah, so they're kind of going off of what the state just did, what you heard Marshall talking about. They've announced their own sweepstakes this week, just specifically for Mesa County. The idea is the more people who get vaccinated, the bigger the jackpot becomes, and they're going to run that through the end of July. They've got a couple of other cash prizes that they're offering up. The goal is to hit as high as 70% vaccinated by this summer, and so we're looking at roughly doubling some of their numbers for vaccinations.
We've spent years talking about economic incentives on this program because they're fascinating, and they also work. And the idea of the progressive jackpot where the community makes it larger is really interesting. All right, thank you, Nusha. Tonight's next question is more of a next request from Charles. After our story on Tuesday about the Beaumar road sign that turned out to be deceiving, trying to convince drivers to stay out of Beaumar by lying to them about whether they can get to Sheridan, Charles wanted an explanation for the difference between these two signs. Different colors, different shapes, both say no through traffic. What gives? We'll talk to CDOT, and what gives is that the yellow sign is a warning sign. The white and black sign is the kind of sign you can get ticketed if you are caught violating. Now we know white and black signs pay more attention. If you're curious about something, somebody else is too, so you can decide the next question we tackle around here. If you would record a video or a voice memo of you asking it, makes it a lot more personal, and send it to next@9news.com. Your questions lead to answers for all of us. And hey, about Beaumar keeping out us riffraff with its lying sign about no access to Sheridan, there's totally access to Sheridan. We still cannot convince the fine officials of Beaumar to get back to us on it. Perhaps that is a sign that they don't appreciate us calling out their sign. So my weekend plans for the foreseeable future involve stamping Next logos on thousands of these wooden tokens and then flipping over and signing the back of them, a token of appreciation for you, for what you have done with the first anniversary Word of Thanks micro-giving campaign this week. So, we turned the Next home studio wood pile into thousands of literal tokens of appreciation for the people who give this week in support of Warren Village. That nonprofit for decades has transformed the lives of single parents and their kids. They offer them years of housing, childcare, career counseling, and support as they reach their goals for self-sufficiency. And then they're off and running in life. That nonprofit was hoping that they might raise $100,000, which is a wild goal this week. And at last check, you've donated $83,000 to Warren Village since Wednesday. When we run out of the woodpile tokens, I will start doing signed thank you notes to everybody who gives this week, so everybody gets something. Is that a deal? Text the word thanks to 303-871-1491, and I'll send you a link to join me in donating. And I don't know, maybe some of you want to join me in stamping a bunch of tokens and stuffing them in envelopes some weekend. Colorado is getting rid of schools' Native American mascots. But what happens to the school districts that have been given the okay to use those mascots by local tribes? A father and son are celebrating their relationship and the relationships of other black families using an unusual method. And it's Friday, sun shining, we can see the people smiling without their masks, all kinds of ready to share their good news.
For the world opening up and for me to be able to be creative again makes me warm inside.
The news doesn't just have to be the worst things that happened today. A different approach is next. There is a significant change today to a bill that caused a real uproar when we first told you about it here. Democrats at the state capitol are scrapping their plan that would have allowed some sex offenders to leave prison early without treatment. The issue is that there's a real backlog for this treatment, so people are just kind of sitting waiting for it. Sexual assault survivors testified that just letting the offenders out was not the way to solve that backlog. And Colorado will soon ban schools from using Native American mascots and nicknames. Governors expected to sign a bill that just passed the legislature. Schools have until next June to drop those names or start getting hit with fines every month. There are exceptions for towns with Native names as well as schools, like, say, Arapahoe, that have standing agreements with tribes. But under this bill, the tribes could revoke their permission at any point.
The warmest day of the season so far, with highs near 90 in Denver. We did see 90s in areas like Fort Collins and Greeley. Big dominant blocking ridge of high pressure means not only will the storm track be north and there's limited moisture for showers and storms, but record high temperatures are possible across the west, across the northern Rockies, and even here in Colorado. We're tracking a couple of thunderstorms, mainly west of the Continental Divide. Here along the Front Range, very little in the way of cloud cover, let alone any moisture for storms. And so for tonight, we have a beautiful Friday night, fair skies in 58. Tomorrow, sunshine in 90, the first of the season. We do see a little bit of a cooling trend Sunday and introduce the chance of a thunderstorm late in the weekend and for the start of next week.
It's such a simple question, but it elicits such memorable answers. So it is why we ask every Friday for 252 Fridays now, what's your good news? The answer's tonight from Denver's 5 Points neighborhood.
You gonna be on the news? My good news is I'm getting a new car today.
Now, why are you getting that? Because of your birthday?
Because I crashed my last one.
My good news is I get to go to the pool today.
It is my bachelorette party. I'm getting married. We were supposed to get married last summer, but COVID postponed it.
My mom's business is progressing. That's good news.
My good news today on this Friday is I just started a party planning business. I'm on Facebook, Nikki Day. I'm an artist out here freelancing, doing my thing. So for the world opening up and for me to be able to be creative again makes me warm inside.
My good news is I'm going back slowly to the East Coast and see family in Baltimore and friends in Boston.
My good news is I just got engaged.
My good news is that my birthday is tomorrow.
My good news is today is a very welcoming day for God to be with us.
we're, doing work like this for low-income housing. I think it's a beautiful thing what we do for everybody and contribute to this community.
She's a precious little baby and she gets all the love.
My good news is that I feel like we're, all taken back off again, and when you hit rock bottom, there's only one way to go, which is up, and I feel like that's where we're going, and everybody should take and really cherish and be feeling blessed right now.
It started as something to keep him busy during the pandemic.
You don't see a lot of black stories or stories of people of color in stop motion or animation, so I just thought, why not take the leap?
And turned into a way to make a statement with the help of his son.
I'm the idea man.
We'll meet them next. The pandemics provide plenty of time for reflection on our relationships, our careers, hobbies, so much more. One artist in Denver took that time to work in a new medium with his son at his side.
All right, yeah.
So this guy's my dad, the good guy, and this guy's a skeleton man, the bad guy.
Right.
Anyone want to see his face?
My name is Musa Bailey. I'm an artist. This is my 7-year-old son, Glenn, and we're working on a stop-motion puppet movie together.
I'm the idea man.
Yeah, he's the best. He has the best ideas, and he's super creative and artistic himself.
Assassin with son.
Yeah, that's the name of the project. It's a father-son story, essentially. It's a stop-motion film with an overall samurai sort of Japanese theme.
So you move a guy, move both guys, then you take a picture.
Well, take your hand out of the frame, right?
Oh, yeah.
It's like really making a real movie, except for you're doing all the action with the puppets. Move the puppet, take a picture, stop, move the puppet, and you just do that thousands of times until you finally
But you gotta keep your hand out.
Well, and you gotta keep your hand out of the frame. So you don't see a lot of black stories or stories of people of color in stop motion or animation. So I just thought, why not take the leap? The idea was to pose racism, social issues, my own fears and concerns, to embody those as ninjas. The samurai is fighting the bad energy in this parallel universe where they're all puppets, but as it relates to my life, the puppets all represent things that are challenging to me or, fears that I'm trying to overcome.
The Shogun's the bad guy and my dad's the good guy.
There was a void of absence of black fatherhood stories, so it just made sense to, since I am a black father, to go ahead and talk about it in that sense. You're doing great, though.
I was so into that story, and then when Glenn goes, and my dad's the good guy, I was like, yeah. Moose and Glenn are working with Japanese artists based in Denver to ensure that there's authenticity to their work and cultural sensitivity. They're in pre-production on this now and hope to have their piece done next year. Thanks to photojournalist Mike Rady for that story. That was good stuff. We end the week with your feedback next. Feedback from a fellow Kyle on the vaccine sweepstakes. He writes, so they pick somebody behind the scenes and then ask them to be there when the winner is announced. Why can't they do a drawing on live TV? Kyle thinks it's rigged. Well, for starters, Kyle, when we got vaccinated, we did not consent to have our vaccination status announced on live television. There are some medical privacy issues involved, so it makes sense that they would need to contact somebody and ask them if they're willing to go public on it. Daniel writes in to say, I am happy that the prize went to somebody who did not need to be enticed by a prize. Part of me thinks that, and then part of me thinks that we're making a few thousand of these so that you guys will give some more to a great nonprofit this week.